You have any pants on?
Hold on. If you don't, should I take mine off?
Yeah, I'll do it too.
Okay. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Fabulous Flix. If you are one of the 4 people that decide to let me waste some of your brain space, I appreciate you coming back. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoy it. This is the 4th installment of A Walk Around Guelph. The gentleman to my right, your left, depending on how you're looking at this, virtually needs no introduction. Mr. Steve Zago, welcome to the program.
So if there's only 4 people watching, I'm usually one of them, so you might only have 3 for this one.
Well, that's really what I did. Is I looked into the analytics and I'm like, if only 3 other people enjoy this, I want to have them on so that they feel falsely important, just the way that I do.
Yeah, that's usually how I feel.
So just as a little bit of history, I met the infamous Zago back when I was at Mini Grand River. Steve had come in and purchased a Cooper S 3-door, and later on traded it in for an all-wheel drive John Cooper Works Clubman, one of my favorite vehicles. And you and I have really consciously made an effort to stay close. Now, the question is, you're a tall, handsome gentleman who is not suffering from the same COVID hair problem I am. Why on earth would you want to continue to hang out?
Well, hanging with people like you just makes me feel better about myself in the
end. I'm literally not even mad.
Yeah, nor should you be.
Yeah, and we've had a little bit more time to hang out. So I don't obviously want to steal your thunder, and obviously I don't want you to divulge any information you're not necessarily supposed to. But about a year ago now, maybe 10 months ago, your world kind of took a wild change. Do you want to kind of take the viewers through kind of what happened, a little bit of the downtime, and then the fairly unfiltered version of where you ended up now and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, the world changed for most of us, 10 months ago when that thing that you might have heard of just started happening. Yeah, the Voldemort.
Yeah.
The Voldemort disease started happening. Well, even thinking back to this time last year, so early February of last year, I was working my job as an airline captain for a major Canadian carrier. I was living, my best life. I was at the top of my career game. I was flying a brand new aircraft, the training captain, flying all over the world, which is pretty much the pinnacle of a career. It's been about 22 years on.
And sorry, not to jump in, but it was always super cool when I would message you because we became buddies pretty quick. And I'd message you and be like, hey, and you're like, hey, I'm in Lisbon or I'm in Rome. And I'm like, cool, I'm in Kitchener.
Guelph.
I'm in Breslau.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. But anyway, super cool. Yeah, so you're there, pinnacle of the career,
I
22 years
think as
in.
a pilot, sometimes you forget how cool it is. Because, to you, it's kind of normal. A lot of my friends are pilots. So you just talk all the time, like, yeah, I'm going to Venice next week. And the guy's like, oh, cool. You're going to go to that place down by the, yeah, I'm going to check that out. Oh, right on. You might like it, But that's an aside. But yeah.
The only person I think that had a cool job that never took it for granted was probably Hugh Hefner. I feel like he's the only guy that never lost sight of the beauty that was in front of him, figuratively and literally.
Probably, but I don't think he took it for granted. I do think he probably took it for granted.
Yeah.
He took certain aspects of that for granted.
Even he got a little board of it? All right, anyway, we're way off topic.
Maybe.
Let's delve back into this.
Yeah. So, this time last year, we're getting whisperings of this new potential pandemic. Obviously, as aviation professionals, we're pretty cognizant of this because it's something we have to potentially be trained. Well, we have to potentially be ready for. We have part of our training is quite often identifying infectious diseases and potential contamination procedures. So there's been kind of a discussion of this, but we've been through a few before with SARS and some other. What was the other one? The swine flu epidemic, etc.
Yeah.
Where a bunch was made about it in the media, and then nothing really came of it. So it was kind of on the back of my mind and on the radar, but I mean, again, what are we going to do about it? We're just regular cogs in the machine. But yeah, flash forward till March, and then it was an interesting month. It started off really good. I was getting a pay raise. I was actually looking at buying my own airplane. It was probably within a couple of days of doing that, and then
I do remember that.
Yeah, and then the bottom just kind of fell out of it. Like I literally went from flying airplane loads of people all over. In the wintertime, I'm quite often doing mostly north-south stuff, like down to the Caribbean, a little bit of transatlantic. And I was flying plane loads of people out of Victoria and Winnipeg and Vancouver and Toronto. And then suddenly, like over a period of 3 or 4 days, it went from operations normal to pandemic mode. And then suddenly we're flying empty airplanes down to wherever and repatriating Canadians. With no PPE, no knowledge of what was going on, everyone freaking out about this virus.
Just ready, fire, aim.
Yeah,
go.
It was
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you got to do it. I mean, end of the day, you got to bring Canadians home. You got to bring. It was a national emergency at that point, and we partook in the largest repatriation of Canadians probably since Second World War or even Korea. Like,
wow,
it was hundreds of thousands of people, not just of me, but like I brought back probably some thousands, and sort of my colleagues from many different airlines. Yeah. And then April 30th came, and my airline shut down everything. They just said, "We're done. We got nothing." So we lost our jobs, and I haven't flown an airplane since then.
So take me through, because obviously you took a bit of time, obviously when it first happened, and obviously as we'll get into, as probably most people now now know you for more so is kind of your venture now. So leading up to those couple days, like what was it like? Were you getting bored? Were you enjoying the time? Were you starting to go crazy? And what spurred on this conversation with this friend of yours, Adam, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah. So after we lost our jobs, there's that transition period. And as someone who's very passionate about what I did, as anyone who's involved in aviation can tell you, I mean, I wanted to be a pilot since I was 6. So there's a mourning period. And it was kind of a shock. Like, you're shocked. Like, I went from being an airline captain, making very comfortable middle-class lifestyle, to unemployment. I've never been unemployed in my life. I've always flown airplanes or had something to go. So I'm not someone who just sits around, and I can't enjoy the time off, especially if I don't know when I'm going back to work. Like, I'm a hustler. I got to do something.
Yep.
So there was a period where it was just like, okay, I need a plan B. Like, I can't wait around. My company may not survive. Aviation in Canada may not survive. We're the only G7 country that has provided zero, and I mean repeat, zero sectoral support for the airline industry.
Yep. Which is an entire other conversation that we're not even going to scratch the surface.
Yeah, that's fair.
Record. Yeah, if anyone watching is looking for some of that scrappiness, it's not happening.
No, and you know what? I need a lot more whiskey.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there was a bit of there was a mourning period, and then my business partner, my friend Adam, him and his wife just purchased With the Grain Bakery in downtown Guelph. And they took possession 7 days after we lost our jobs. So there's that added stress as well. So I was helping him out because I like to cook, and him and I we've made beer together. We've consumed a lot of whiskey together, and we've cooked a lot together. It's kind of something we like to do. So I would help out a little bit here and there with that. And then flash forward to about June 8th, actually. Adam came over to my house one night. I'm not far from the bakery, and we sat in the backyard, and we're smoking cigars and drinking whiskey,
as you do.
And it's good things are good friends are going to do, and good ideas usually come from, and lots of bad ones.
Yep.
And we were batting around ideas of what we could do. And one thing I mentioned, I said, we've got this time given to us against our will, but whatever, it's here. Let's do something with it. I always thought about owning my own business. And we started batting around ideas for a business because we had some space in the bakery, not much space, but some. And we said, well, we have this resource. Let's do something with it. And so we batted around ideas, and Adam just kind of shot out. He goes, what about coffee roasting? And I kind of thought about it. I'm like, I don't know. And then, we finished our whiskeys. He went his way, I went my way. And I woke up probably about 1 a.m. that night. I couldn't sleep. I was agitated, as was probably most people during that time period, and I was especially. I had a hard time sleeping. And I came downstairs, and I popped open my computer, and I went on YouTube, and I just started searching up how to roast coffee. I knew nothing about it. And 2 or 3 hours later, I was in. did the deep dive, and I said, you know what, I think we can pull this off. I called Adam the next day and I said, hey, Lost Aviator Coffee Company, you in? And he said yes, and here we are.
I love the end of that story. I admit I've probably got to hear, especially the latter part of that, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And it literally never gets old. Just not only that, hey, I think it's a good idea that, hey, Lost Aviator, are you in? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. It was a
And,
handshake deal. And
Yep.
we went headlong into it from there. A lot of people ask, like, you know, the name. They assume it's just because we both lost our jobs, we're lost aviators. I think there's an element of that in there, and it's definitely resonated. I think a lot in the aviation community, especially.
Yeah, your support from the
that.
aviation community is insane, but that's a different topic.
Sorry?
Yeah. I said your support in the aviation community is crazy.
Oh, it's nuts. It's nuts. It's very humbling because, I mean, like, you know, people who, a lot of them are unemployed right now, are still throwing hard-earned money at us, which is we're very incredibly grateful for.
Yep.
And the support has been amazing. But there's a lot of people who ask that, like, oh, well, you're too lost aviator, you lost your jobs, lost aviator, we get it. And I'm like, no, that's not really the genesis of that name. The original concept for Lost Aviator has been swimming around in my head for years. I always wanted to do a microbrewery out of the Guelph Air Park, take over a hangar, have a tap room built into the hangar. So on a summer day, you lift open the hangar door, you have a nice little bar there, and you could sit there and drink beer and watch airplanes take off.
Yeah,
and call it Lost Aviator. And it's more of a throwback to the golden age of aviation, when you have big old radial engines, DC-3s, super constellation aircrafts. Back in the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. That was kind of the original idea of it, when pilots would navigate by the stars and by dead reckoning, and they would get lost on occasion. So it's kind of where the idea came from. I mean, there's definitely a truism in that, you know, we both feel kind of a pilot without his airplane is definitely lost. But more's come out of it since as well. Like, I'm going off on a tangent here. You know, feel free to reel me in. But we had one lady come in. She's actually a counselor in Guelph, Leanne Piper, and she mentioned to Adam that her father was I believe he was a pilot or possibly a navigator in Lancaster after the war in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and he passed away recently. And they insisted that they serve Lost Aviator Coffee at his funeral, at his memorial.
It's amazing. It's amazing how something can be born out of literally thin air and resonate with so many people. I mean, I mentioned a few minutes before that the support from the aviation community has been insane, and I've had the pleasure of masking up properly, of course, before lockdown, and coming down to visit you a couple times, and coming down to hang out, and like, you're sending stuff to the U.S., you're sending it overseas, and it's not just coffee, it's the mugs. I mean, I remember when you launched your founding members thing, and just based on our relationship, I remember messaging you saying, I don't care how much it costs, I need to have one of those mugs or you're literally dead to me. And I think I took like number 24 and you made 25 or something like that. Like, God forbid if you'd have given that away. So quickly going into the coffee itself, you and I had discussions, and, you know, I'm very humbled that when this was starting to come alive, that you and I got to talk a lot about branding, and I was able to, even if it was just a smidgen of help, be able to kind of be a very small part of that. I'll forever be grateful. We talked a lot about the names in the coffee. So you have a few main roasts. Do you mind kind of taking me through the name of them? So, for example, the dark roast is North Star, True Star, and then there's Red Eye to Rome, and like just quickly kind of take me through each one of those, just kind of a Cole's Notes version as to what each means, because I think that there will be people, and I could literally think of them by name, who drink this coffee that's going to go, shit, I didn't know that. That's what that meant. So do you mind kind of taking us through it?
Yeah, so we like to have like a bit of depth in everything we do. We're big aviation history fans. You know, I volunteer for an organization out of Waterloo called Waterloo Warbirds in my spare time, and I'm checked out on one of the jets. I was in the process of getting checked out in a 1942 Montreal-built Harvard World War II training aircraft. So, and Adam is just as into this stuff as I am. So, you my grandfather was a bomber pilot during the war. He was a squadron leader. I got his uniform up my wall upstairs in my office. So aviation history is something we're both very passionate about. Canadian aviation history is something we're both very passionate about. And just the story that goes behind it. And I think having a story that goes behind not just your coffee company, but also your coffee and all your different products. Maybe most people aren't going to get it, but it's layered.
Mm-hmm.
And so we came up with the idea. We could have gone full aviation nerd, and it's very easy to do. Like, people are in our community. There's no bottom how nerdy you can get when you like airplanes.
Fair.
Yeah, and it's like people like you who know like everything about Star Wars. Like, you could start your own Star Wars brand coffee and name it like the coolest thing ever from the Star Wars lore.
Fair.
And the nerds, and I count myself amongst them. I don't mean this as any more form of
no, fair. Yeah, I know. Nerds. I'm literally rocking the one-off shirt.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself for not wearing mine.
That's so good.
There's
that's true. So okay, so what are so you have your dark roast, which is the.
So I'll start from the bottom. So
okay,
I'll start from light to dark.
Okay.
So we have Aurora, which is our light roast coffee. That's named after, of course, the Aurora Borealis, but it's also named after a maritime patrol aircraft, which is still in use by the Royal Canadian Air Force, but it's from a 1950s vintage Lockheed Electra four-engine maritime patrol aircraft. So we did that. We had a hard time with that one, but we figured it out. The medium roast was easy for us. We called it Constellation. And that's named after, of course, the constellations, which pilots would navigate by during the golden age of aviation, and also the Lockheed Constellation, Super Constellation aircraft, which was a World War II vintage transport plane that became one of the most beautiful airliners ever in the 40s and the 50s. They're stunning airplanes. And then the dark roast, we came up with North Star, which is actually a Canadian aircraft. Basically, it was the post-war tradition that Canada adopted, where they would take a U.S. airframe that was really well built and a British engine, and they'd make sweet love between the two of them, and they would make a Canadian aircraft. And it was basically the best of both worlds, U.S. aerodynamics with British engines.
Which is ironic, because in the car world, they take the British engines out and they try and put Americans' engine. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. But in aviation, the Brits, the Rolls-Royce,
complete opposite. They had it figured out.
You take a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine and you take out the Allison engine out of a P-51 A model. You slap it in, and you get a P-51B, C, and D, which ruled the skies over Europe during World War II.
Wild.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so they just did that.
Right.
That's what Canada did. We did that a lot. So it was kind of there was an element of celestial bodies and navigation, but also a deeper meaning with regards to an aircraft. So we wanted something that anyone could identify. Like an av geek like me would walk in and go, North Star, nice. And then an average Joe walk in, North Star, like the North Star or Polaris. Like, it's not the deep dive of nerdiness, right?
Okay. And then you have an espresso.
Yes, the espresso is Red Eye to Rome. That was pretty
which is fantastic, by the way. I'm a North Star drinker, but whenever I have the opportunity to rock some Red Eye to Rome, I will make that espresso blend in as a whole bean, and it is brilliant.
Well, it's funny because it's actually very versatile. Like, you can have that as a straight up espresso, and it's excellent. It's smooth. It's got a natural sweetness to it. Mm-hmm. It's still got that strong espresso flavor that you expect, but it makes a really good French press, and usually most espresso doesn't do that. Mm-hmm. So I love it. It's probably of all the blends we've done, it's probably the one I'm most proud of.
And where was that from?
So the genesis for that one was that was probably the easiest one to name, because we're thinking espresso, the Italian heritage of espresso. I'm Italian by birth. I grew up in the ward.
That's basically Italy, right? Like, that's
basically Italy. Yeah, just
I'm Italian by birth. I was born in the ward.
Yeah. No,
true statement you'll ever hear on this show ever. not I was born in Rome or Naples. No, I was born in the ward. So I'm basically
the ward.
Yeah, I'm Italy born.
Yeah, it's basic. Well, I grew up with my Italian nonna, my nonno, and getting sworn at in dialect Italian. But I used to fly like in 2019. I was on a wide body aircraft. I flew to Rome like 2 or 3 times a month.
Okay.
And one of the things I first discovered when I went to Rome was amazing coffee, but there was a cafe next to the Pantheon. It's between Piazza Navona and the Pantheon. If you've ever been to Rome, and it's called Cafe San Mustachio, and it was actually voted world's best coffee, I think 5 or 6 years ago.
Not to be confused with Elf when they drink the world's best coffee. That's different, right?
That is different.
If you want the thing you love,
you did it! Congratulations! World's best cup of coffee. Great job, everybody.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tastes like a crappy cup of coffee.
And this place is really interesting because you walk in there and it's stand-up bar only. You go in there, you get your espresso, and that's basically all they serve.
Mm-hmm.
And all the espresso machines are covered up. You can't see what kind of grinder they're using, what kind of espresso they're using, nothing. And actually, one of the guys was flying with tried to like lean over and view it, and they literally smacked him.
It's awesome.
All secretive. Yeah,
it's so
it's pretty
good.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's what I used to do. I'd fly the red eye because you always fly at night when you go to Europe. Just the way the North Atlantic tracks are structured, that's why we do it. But you fly at night, and then you get there, and you'd be tired, of course, and maybe have a little nap, and then I get up and go for a walk. And the first thing I do is go right to Cafe San Mustachio and have my little shot of espresso. So it was an easy one for us. We just like the name, right? So,
dude, it's fantastic.
Yeah, and then the decaf was the hardest one to name. We fought over it a lot. It was like we almost had a divorce over it. I'm joking, of course. But,
yeah.
We came up with Mile High. The original idea I want to call it inverted. And I had like a whole concept in my mind of like a pilot. Like I got a friend of mine who flies because I was inverted.
Because I was inverted.
Yeah, exactly. No, I got a friend of mine he's an aerobatic instructor and he flies to Harvard. And I was going to have take a photo of him. He's got a really cool old school helmet, kind of on the back end of a loop with the smoke trail behind him, inverted with a mug of coffee. I had a bunch of ideas for it. I thought it was cool because the thing that we found about decaf, I'm not a decaf drinker at all, but we wanted to make sure we had a really high quality decaf, and we succeeded.
It's tough to find.
It is tough to find, and it's our most expensive coffee. Like we definitely spend a lot more on that coffee, but for us, it's important to have a good quality product across the board. And some coffees, they kind of make fun of decaf, and I thought, inverted is cool. It's high energy. It's different, but it's neat. Mm-hmm. So, but that wasn't jiving with Adam. So we batted around ideas for months. It was crazy, and finally we just came up with the idea of Mile High, and then we just left it at that. It's like, okay.
I was just going to say, is there like a hidden meaning, or is this literally what I think it is?
Yeah, it's 5,280 feet above ground, my friend.
Fair enough. Now, I'm curious, as someone who loves coffee, how much inspiration were you able to draw on from the incredible, I can't even say this in straight face, with the incredible coffee you were able to drink on an airplane?
Oh my God.
It is garbage.
It is awful. It is awful. That's what we always
so we're able to draw any inspirations, like any taste of soot or tire leather or...
Well, like the bar's so low when it comes to airline coffee that like as long as you don't produce that crap.
What a great marketing campaign to the rest of your aviation community. Lost Aviator Coffee. It's better than the shit we're used to.
Yeah, it's not crap. Yeah.
It's not garbage.
It's not garbage. Definitely not. So, we even put that on our website. I think I said, like, as part of our intro, I'm like, as career pilots, we know what bad coffee is.
Yeah.
It's true. And we live off coffee. Like, you're at 3 a.m, you're halfway across the Atlantic Ocean. Like, you see the twinkle of the sun just coming up, and you're like, oh, God, I'm tired. And you go back and, you hand off control to your co-pilot, and you go back and you have a coffee, and it's just horse piss. It's awful. But you need it anyways, right? Or if you're in an airport, and
you're tired when you're begging for some horse piss.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like the good thing we do is we go to we walk through the terminal, and you'd be like, before you get on the airplane, if you're really happy, if your gate was next to like I'm not going to say the name of the company, but it rhymes with fucks.
Yeah, got it.
And you go get a very bitter burnt Americano, and you put a little bit of cream in it, and you'd drink that for the first hour or so, and just kind of choke it down, and then that keep you going for a little bit. But like I said, we know what bad coffee is, but doing the deep dive on actual coffee roasting, it's been fascinating because it's, aviation is something that's complicated and you're always learning. And that's one thing I've always liked about it. There's always something new to learn. Like I was a training captain on a Boeing 737 and on an Airbus. And so, I have to know a lot about systems and procedures and that kind of thing. But even if I was flying with a brand new co-pilot who'd never flown a jet before, and I'm teaching them the ropes, I would always learn something from them, because even if they were like 24, 25, 26 years old and very new in their career, only been there a couple of years. Yeah, punks. Yeah, basically what I used to be.
Flyboys.
They would always have something to teach me.
Yep.
It wasn't doing a 4G negative pushover on top of a MiG-28.
At what range?
At what range?
About a meter, about a meter and a half. Communicating.
Yeah. International relations. I hate it when that.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know the finger goose. Okay, so we are in lockdown. You're working like crazy. You have captured the imagination and the eyes of some incredible staples in the community of Guelph, like real ones, not me, but like actual important people. I mean, what you've been able to accomplish on a whim with a ton of determination, a ton of hard work. I mean, I speak literally for the entire city, and we stand up and salute what it is you've been able to do. You didn't rest on your laurels for too long. You got up, you made something happen. And that is literally something that people need to hear, to support, and to embrace as to what's going on right now. So now that I'm done kissing your ass, because I'm only going to do that for so long, because quite frankly, it makes me nauseous. And I even took my pants off for this. Fact, you literally watched me do it.
I did.
So what when you get home from roasting coffee and changing the world of coffee in Guelph kind of one day at a time, what are 3 things that you're going to watch over the next little while? And if you don't mind telling me why each one. They can be movies, they can be shows. Obviously, I'm a movie guy, but I seem to be losing that battle real quick on these episodes.
I'm not a big movie guy anymore. I hate to say it.
Except for Top Gun.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I haven't watched Top Gun in years, and you kind of got me going on the 4K episode. So I think when lockdown ends, I got to come over and watch it.
All right, the invite's open. It's literally right here. So
yeah, perfect. All right. Well, the new one's coming out soon, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
So
what are you watching?
I can. What am I watching? So I love history, right? So I watched. I love The Last Kingdom on Netflix.
Oh. Great show.
That's a good one.
Okay.
I love fantasy as well. I definitely rock me some Mandalorian.
Oh, not even mad.
Epically good.
Epically good.
Yeah.
Yep. So Mandalorian, Last Kingdom, and one more.
Yeah,
what else?
Top Gun. That's kind of a gimme. What else? I kind of got reacquainted with some old movies that I haven't watched in a long time. Just stuff that kind of takes you back. I watched The Aviator.
Leo.
With Leo. Yeah, I watched that recently, and I remember seeing it back in the day and not thinking much of it. But I watched it again, and I just love all the aircraft, of course. One thing I have to watch, and I haven't watched it yet, and this is a crime for me as a pilot. I have not watched The Right Stuff, the original.
Really?
Yeah. I am fully confessing that. All the aviation people who are watching this are probably just going to slam their screens shut with it.
They're canceling all of their orders because you've not watched The Right Stuff yet.
I've not watched The Right Stuff. Adam, my business partner, has, and he keeps giving me grief for not watching it. He's right. So that's definitely a must watch. I have to watch The Right Stuff.
Have you watched any of the newer stuff, like the Dunkirks, the 1917s? Have you had a chance? Because that's a lot of historical war stuff. Did you find that, as a guy who's into aviation? I obviously know it's not specifically about aviation. Did you find it historically accurate? Did you enjoy them?
So I watched Dunkirk. I watched it once. It was good. I love the Spitfire scenes because it's actually legit flying.
It's just hard to understand anything they say because it's Christopher Nolan and everyone sounds like they're eating with a mouthful of cotton balls.
Yeah, I enjoyed Dunkirk. It's not something I watched a second time. 1917. So my great grandfather fought in the First World War, I was there for the 100th anniversary of Vimy Ridge in France. I went back for the 100th anniversary of the armistice. I love military history. I was in the army in my youth in Guelph.
Not in Italy, aka the ward.
Yeah, no. I moved out of the ward by that point. I watched that in 1917. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. But the one I really liked, and the one I've gone back and watched multiple times, is Darkest Hour.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I love that.
Great movie.
Awesome. I mean, just it's an awesome movie. What's the name of the actor? I'm having a freaking brain fart here. The guy who played Churchill.
Can't help you on this one. Sorry.
Commissioner Gordon in Batman movies.
I'm gonna I can literally see his face. I can literally see his face. And as soon as we're done recording, I'm going to go, bleh.
Yeah, I almost want to look it up. Like I got the Google machine here. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
He did a marvelous job.
Yep.
And I've read a lot about that time period. I've read a lot about Winston Churchill. I loved it. That was probably over the last couple of years, probably one I really enjoyed. Another one that I watch once a year. You're looking it up, aren't you?
I am.
All right.
I
can't believe I forgot.
Oh, for the love of God. Of course, I look it up on the one thing that it's not telling me.
Of course. It's going to come to me in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, I can literally see him.
Gary Oldman.
Son of a...
I know.
Yeah.
He did a magnificent job. One that I watch once a year is my thing, and I love it every time I watch it. And I'm not the type of guy who can watch the same movie repeatedly, but Master and Commander with Russell Crowe.
Oh, so good. And was the epitome of audio-visual spectacles in the early to mid 2000s. That was a go-to for us. All right, so here's one I didn't prep you for. So if I wanted to better understand you as a person, if you said, hey, watch this movie to get a better understanding of who I am, what movie would you tell people to go watch about you? And I'll give you an example. So for me, it's going to be Happy Gilmore. Fun-loving. I love the game of golf. I barely like to abide by the rules. Most of the time, if I can get away with something, I'm going to, hence why I'm sitting in my basement and my wife is upstairs working very hard so that I can do stuff like this. If I wanted to watch a movie to better understand who you are, your character, your nature, what movie would you tell me to watch?
That's a good question. The movie I probably watched the most is my favorite movie of all time is Shawshank Redemption. But I've never been falsely accused of murdering my wife.
No, but I mean, that movie's so much more about the character we develop and the people we strangely find ourselves attached to, right? I think that's that's an absolutely amazing pick.
It's an amazing picture, and the thing is, you got that strong bond between Red and
Andy Dufresne.
Yeah, Andy Dufresne.
Andy Dufresne.
You know, and I love the scene at the end when they reunite. You know what I mean? So that, I mean, that doesn't really talk
That is an amazing pick of a movie to better understand someone. That is really
it's just, that's one of my all-time favorite movies. I've watched it so many times I can't even remember. I haven't watched it in years, actually. I should watch it again.
Then that's it. Yeah. That is your movie. Well, Mr. Zago, I'm going to wrap this up. Always, my plan is to make these 15, 20 minutes long. But I mean, I think it's so important for people to see, you know, the guy behind Lost Aviator and just how infused and passionate you are behind the story behind your product. You know, it's one thing to say, I want to go make coffee because I'm not flying a plane anymore. It's another thing to take your entire life's passion and put it into something that is such a captive market. So again, man, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time. I know that you're obscenely busy. I hope that when we stop this, you'll stick on for a couple minutes so we can chat after. But again, I really appreciate the time. Cheers to you. What you're doing is amazing. Cheers. And I cannot wait to see you soon, pal.
Thanks, man. It was a pleasure.
Cheers.